America can change. Yes, we can.
Now I'm going to play another one of these occulted messages, in my opinion. It's from a speech held again by Obama at the death of Nelson Mandela. It's the ending of the speech. That was creepy. I recommend that you watch the whole victory speech in reverse. Now, this is what he had to say on the death of Nelson Mandela.
We will not likely see the likes of Nelson Mandela again. So it falls to us, as best we can, to forward the example that he set, to make decisions guided not by hate but by love, to never discount the difference that one person can make, to strive for a future that is worthy of his sacrifice. For now, let us pause and give thanks for the fact that Nelson Mandela lived, a man who took history in his hands and bent the arc of the moral universe towards justice. May God bless his memory and keep him in peace.
Do not be deceived by the tone of this speech and the occasion that was spoken on. I have no doubt in my mind that there are messages hidden in this speech, and that his agenda in making this speech was rather a hidden one than as an homage to Nelson Mandela. You see, I deliberately searched for this speech because I was sure there was something hidden beneath it, without ever hearing it before. My expectations were right, and I will show you in a few seconds the basis for my affirmations, but it will be up to you to draw your own conclusions, and if your conclusions are not as drastic as mine, that's perfectly fine. First, let's take a look at the surface of the speech and what he's saying in the ending. You see, in the last 15 seconds, he talks about the difference that one person can make. I'm not saying that Nelson Mandela made the Mandela effect, but it is definitely a reference to that. He's talking about strive for a future, I guess a different one. Then he says that he took history into his hands and bent the arc of the universe. This is too much. I mean, he's saying that he changed history and bent the fabric of the universe. That's what he's saying. And then says that God should bless his memory. He's making fun of our memory problems with the Mandela effect. So you have memory, history, and future combined with difference. It is a clear reference to the Mandela effect, and it is put at the end of the speech for a definite purpose. Now, when I played this video backwards, I found actually more than I expected, but I will not share everything in this video because it's not all related to the Mandela effect. But the reason that I spend a lot of time trying to understand what it is said in the reverse is because the Bible talks about dark sentences. So here is what he actually said in the last 12 seconds of his speech.
A man who took history in his hands and bent the arc of the moral universe towards justice. May God bless his memory and keep him in peace. He remembers himself back. Such your servant your crowd nothing. Snaps in it. Here, sick, let's do name.
It can be clearly heard a reference to the times of Ramses, the golden age of Egypt, and also to the snake city, which also refers to Egypt. Just to make sure I would not draw the convenient conclusions, I searched deeper into this short speech, and I found other references to the Mandela effect, in my opinion. Some of these are played half speed in reverse for a better understanding.
The first thing I ever did that involved small minute.
I guess this would be the first direct proof. Well, not quite direct because it's backwards in the video. Backwards in time? Interesting. My point is, if he deliberately tried to transmit a occulted message about the Mandela effect, which we can see in plain sight when we listen to the speech, then it needs an interpretation, and this could be the right interpretation, a direct reference to the Large Hadron Collider. Just in case you're thinking that I'm going too far, I need to share this with you. There are songs from the Led Zeppelin, the Beatles, and other ones that if you play backwards gives a clearly satanic message. I advise you to watch the documentary They Sold Their Souls to Rock and Roll for more information on this. Are you still with me? Okay, this is the last reverse interpretation I'm going to show you.
That's an example to the world. And that's Madiba's legacy to the nation that he loved.
So in the normal playing of the video, he specifies legacy, which leads to past, and in the backwards playing he says negotiate, which is like sort of a change. Now, if he indeed said what I interpreted here, referring to a certain year, well, I have to remind you that 2016 is his last year as president.
With that, I just have two more words to say. Obama out.
Most people find this very amusing. Let's call them ignorant people. I've seen a whole bunch posting this kind of jokes from politicians. They are appreciating such humor, which is not humor, without thinking ahead. Look at his facial expression. He wasn't joking, he just said it as a joke. Since we are at this subject, Obama's ending presidency, earlier at the half-screen video, you've seen a speech from Obama, the last State of the Union address. That was the original, and now I'm going to show you a video that Ellen posted, if you heard of her, posted on her YouTube channel. It's altered video of Obama's last State of the Union address. I wasn't even going to discuss this matter, but I find it interesting. So here is the prank that Helen played, more as a mockery to the audience, I would say.
Did everybody see the President's State of the Union address? Everybody? Yeah. I thought it was fantastic. I have to say, I was a little surprised by how he ended it. I don't know if it was because it was his last one, but boy, I was surprised. Well, he doesn't care anymore. He's done now, so.
I believe in change because I believe in you, the American people. And that's why I stand here as confident as I have ever been that the state of our union is strong. Thank you. God bless the United States of America.
Mic drop!
Considering that Obama legalized homosexual marriage, which is another abomination in God's eyes that he did, I find it very curious why this lesbian posts a video showing Obama dropping the mic and throwing the papers off the table. That's not a very good image that she creates to Obama. But you can clearly see at the end of the speech the fact that when he touches his tie and he says that he believes in change, then the tie changes. It's a different tie, and you can clearly see that his whole posture is wrong. It can be easily deduced that it is fake. But what's the point to all this? Well, maybe it was just a preview for the mic drop at the White House, which was for real. I wasn't even going to bring this up, but then I realized the relevance in the Mandela effect issue, because this video was faked deliberately. There was a video where it was talking about change. Something was definitely changed in that video, not just his tie. And it's a mockery, in my opinion, on the Mandela effect, because people are starting to see these real changes in our reality, and they previewed the real thing with, I would say, a Mandela effect fakely. So don't believe for 1 second that his joke at the ending of the speech with the mic drop has no significance. These speeches are prepared in advance by teams of people, and to add more to this, you had a preview with months before. This fake video seems to be made intentional, with mistakes that can be easily detected. It's like they wanted us to grasp that it has been modified, and maybe at the right moment acknowledge the fact that it was a preview. Now this is the same with the Mandela effect. You have a change, but you also have clues. It's like they want you to know for sure that it is a change in the reality. I didn't add this prank to the documentary just so I can claim, see, they are showing it to our face, therefore the Mandela effect must be controlled by them. But I think that looking at this in the right perspective, can help you understand how the phenomenon works. You see, here the change is backwards. You have a real speech that took place 3 months later in time, and the anticipation, which is in fact the change being actually a picture of the Mandela effect. So this adds a new layer to the Mandela effect, which is the forecasting of an event. But we will discuss this later at the conclusion section. For now, I want you to apprehend that there's more to what they say on TV. Everything is very carefully orchestrated and has a certain meaning.
You filled up your gas tank lately, then you don't need us to tell you that gas prices are back on the rise.
You don't need us to tell you that gas prices are back on the rise.
You don't need us to tell you that gas prices are back on the rise.
You don't need us to tell you that gas prices are back on the rise.
You don't need us to tell you that gas prices are back on the rise.
You don't need us to tell you that gas prices are back on the rise.
You don't need us to tell you that gas prices are back on the rise.
You don't need us to tell you gas prices are back on the rise.
You don't need us to tell you that gas prices are back on the rise.
You don't need us to tell you that gas prices are back on the rise.
You don't need us to tell you gas prices are back on the rise.
But you don't need us to tell you that gas prices are back on the rise.
You don't need us to tell you gas prices are on the rise.
In my line of work, you got to keep repeating things over and over and over again for the truth to sink in, to kind of catapult the propaganda.
So my point is that most people just choose to be naive. It takes longer for them to wake up.
Yes, very funny, very funny.
People subconsciously want to be lied to. They desire to be mocked and fooled. In order to diffuse the atmosphere so we don't get too hung up on this, I'm going to show you a famous slip from George Bush.
Fool me once, shame on you. You fool me, can't get fooled again.
You have to admit that's funny. But we got fooled alright with the Mandela effect. Some of you more skeptics that you're thinking like,
there's no way, man. You're hearing things backwards. You're gonna have to show me Nelson Mandela himself saying this.
Then I'm going to say, okay, let's listen to a speech held by Nelson Mandela. While searching for such relevant speeches, I thought to myself, what years should I search for a Nelson Mandela speech? And if you are paying attention in this video, 1998 is one of the 69 references years, just like 2016. So the speech that we are about to see was held by Nelson Mandela at Harvard, which I found very interesting because it's not only a connection with the Mandela effect but also with the USA, which is present moment Babylon. And this is the reason I believe that the Mandela effect is taking place in the United States of America and maybe in other countries also, but not at the same level.
I think it would be unfair to close this address without getting a more vivid picture of what some South Africans think of this man. When I turned 75, a young lady it was reported that there was a young lady of about 5 at the gate of my house. And they say, she wants to see you. I said, let her come in. The security said, Mr. President, she is very cheeky. I say precisely for that reason, let her come in. She came in, and indeed she was a great lady. She did not knock, she did not greet, she just said, "How old are you?" I said, "Well, I can't remember. But I was born long, long ago." She said, 2 years ago? I said, no, longer than that. Then she suddenly switched subjects and said, "Why did you go to jail?" I say, "No, I didn't go to jail because I like. Some people send me there." Who? People who don't like me. And she said, "How long did you stay there?" I said, "Well, again, I can't remember. But it was a very, very long time." She then said, very calmly and confidently, "You are a stupid old man, aren't you?"
It's a funny story, and again it is put at the end of the speech. Now, I like to have fun while discussing serious matters, and the Mandela effect is very serious. However, I'm not telling you what to think about Nelson Mandela as a person. As a matter of fact, he probably didn't make this illusion deliberately, unlike his 666 campaign. Humans are not that intelligent. These very carefully orchestrated messages, conspiracies, are directed by spirits, by fallen angels. But you can be honest and admit the fact that there is a Mandela effect reference in this little story. Did you catch on to it? Yes, it's the memory problems that he alludes to. Now, the reason that I made this video, as I said before, was to bring a Christian view. I believe this is the most accurate Christian view on the Mandela effect, because it has a full coverage of the cause of the Mandela effect. And I can show you this, but I cannot make you believe it. So even if you don't agree with everything that the guy in the next video is saying, I think you agree with the fact that it's wiser to be informed.
Anytime you see something repeated in the news over and over and over, and you have a lot of headlines talking about how Mandela was going to be sick, and he was sick and he was dying. Well, just the number of articles that were out there portraying and talking about it. Right. There was definitely a buildup in anticipation that here this guy was sick, and he was going to die. But you expect, why should this be such a big deal when you know that he's going to pass away soon? Why should there be all of this premature mourning, as it were, for it? And so obviously the media and the powers that be regard the guy very highly. And so anytime the media and the ruling powers, as it were, are focusing and putting all kinds of attention on one guy, you got to ask the question, well, why? I was kind of confused. Why should there be so much esteem for this guy? It was confusing to me. I really didn't understand why there should be so much focus and emphasis. Yes, he may have had some role in deconstructing what was called apartheid in South Africa. But to me, it just didn't make sense. It seemed like there had to be more. Even Nelson Mandela, to compare him to Gandhi, it's weird because he never renounced violence. Mm-hmm. He used violence to achieve his objectives, and he was in prison for years because of that. Anyway, all that to say is that I believe that there's something more to Nelson Mandela. The reason why he would be so admired, even worshipped almost by the world, Well, that was one of the big eye-openers for me. When I saw all of this media coverage 6 months ago, I had it in the back of my mind, why should the man be so worshipped? Why should he be so admired and esteemed? And when I did a few Google's internet searches, I found out that Nelson Mandela, beyond his legacy for dealing with apartheid, was known literally as the embodiment, the physical embodiment of this idea called Ubuntu. And that idea, essentially in a nutshell, is a very new age concept. And so he was basically known as the figurehead for this very new age kind of ideology. And so that's what made sense to me, is that beyond what he actually physically accomplished in the way of apartheid, what really made the man popular and what makes him popular is his status in this Ubuntu ideology religion, which is basically New Age ideology. Well, you know, it goes all the way back to the Tower of Babel, ancient Babel. And the Bible talks about a one world religion emerging that the Antichrist will preside over. And so what happened back in the days of Babel is that all nations, all peoples were all present and unified under a single banner, you could say. The people said, we will build a tower into heaven. Essentially what they were saying is as above, so below. They're saying that we are God corporately, and we will rise up against the God of heaven, essentially. And so what this Ubuntu concept really means is humanity is corporately God. In a nutshell, Ubuntu means I am, meaning I am God because you are God. So I think that's what happened to Nelson Mandela in that prison, is that he came to a type of illumination, but not the illumination that comes from submission to Christ, because he denied Christ. He denied God. He was an atheist. Right. Devoutly to the very end. Right. And people need to understand that about him, that the source of his spirituality was not from Christ, and completely opposite to what we need to do as Christians to achieve that illumination, which is submission to God.
Madiba's legacy,
yes,
it had to go somewhere.
Right.
Where did it get picked up at?
Well, yeah, I think unquestionably Obama would be the one to take up that torch. And he was the one, Obama, in his speech, I had the feeling that before his speech happened, that this Ubuntu concept would be introduced to the world. And Obama was the one that did that in his speech. He introduced this concept, Ubuntu, to the world, which really is the New Age religion. It is the foundation for the beliefs of the One World Church.
The difference between the guy that you just listened to and most people is that this guy didn't just believe Nelson Mandela is a Christian because he quoted from the Bible a few times, but instead went and researched his background and his true beliefs. So the conclusion here is, don't believe that someone is a Christian just because he claims that and he quotes from the Bible. All you have to do is look at the Masons. The Freemasons swear their oath on the King James Bible. They have a little extra edit in the front of the Bible, but it's the King James Bible. They pretend to be Christians, but they worship another God specified in the Bible. So Nelson Mandela was not a Christian. This is easy to grasp if you choose not to believe these false images created by the mass media. And it also fits perfect into the Mandela effect, because they would never choose a Christian man to stand for the name of this effect. And the powers that be, to quote this guy, hate Christians. They hate Christianity. This is what Christians don't believe. They don't see that. Most Christians are blinded by the mass media and don't see the anti-Christians movement. It's not just Ubuntu. You don't believe me? Go read the comments on this particular video on YouTube, and you'll see that people are not able to recognize that this ideology is in fact a religious doctrine.
Here's the text of Mandela's favorite poem. Out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeonings of chance, my head is bloody but unbowed. Unbowed means you're not like bending down to anybody. That'd be like to God. Alright, beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of the shade, and yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how strait the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. I am the master of my fate, I am the captain of my soul. Straight is the gate that leads to salvation, broad is the way that leads to destruction. This is unbelievably antichrist, to say that it doesn't matter about the straight gate and they can do whatever they want, that they think that they are a master of their fate and not God. Completely antichrist. Basically, I think the world is beginning to have their imaginations become one together, like the Borg, which is more predictive programming for the enemy. A bunch of people being brainwashed by TV, Hollywood. The wood from a holly tree is used to make wands to put people to sleep. Hollywood broadcasts spells through TV programming to program you. When people are under the spell of the Magic Kingdom and Hollywood, they will think alike.
So put aside for a bit the Mandela respect and take a look at the Mandela defect, because there's definitely a Mandela